final segment of the candidate forum. Our last segment is Commissioner District 8. Our candidates are Butch Ellison. Mr. Ellison is the incumbent, and Dr. Jane Winkler Philbrook. Jane Winkler Philbrook. Mr. Ellison and Dr. Philbrook, you will begin with a 2-minute opening statement. Mr. Ellison, please give your opening statement.
Thank you. Born and raised 1939, Kansas City, Kansas. Attended the public schools, Kansas City, Kansas. Graduate of Kansas City, Kansas Sumner High, 1957. Kansas City, Kansas Community College, 59. KU, where I earned a bachelor's and master's degree. 37 years in the school district. 2 years as the director of the Fairfax Industrial Association's jobs program sponsored by the National Alliance of Businessmen. 3 years as a department head with the City of Kansas City, Kansas Model Cities program. And married, same house for 48 years, 2 kids, 5 grandkids. Seeking my 4th term, and I've learned a little in 12 years. That's me.
Thank you. Dr. Philbrook.
Yes, I'm Jane Winkler Philbrook, and I'm a 4th-generation DOT. I'm a 3rd-generation doctor of optometry, a small business owner, and at 7161 State Avenue, that business for over 15 years. My mother opened that particular location in 1971. I live in District 8, and I have been a long-time resident of Kansas City, Kansas all my life. I serve as Vice President of Business West, a group of businesses in the western part of the county. I serve on the State Avenue Improvement Committee. That's a part of Business West. Past president of Kiwanis, Kansas City West Club. I love my community, and I am more than willing to work toward its continued growth and prosperity. It is time for a new representation in the 8th District, and I'm that person. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now go into our question phase. Our moderators are Ms. Eleanor Jefferson and Ms. Mary Rupert. Candidates, you have 1.5 minutes to respond. Please pay attention to our timekeepers in the front. I'll now turn it over to our moderators.
This question is for Butch Ellison. Do you support the efforts and funding for livable neighborhoods and the 8 neighborhood business revitalization organizations, and will you continue to support them?
You know, it's kind of difficult. When I call the director of the livable neighborhoods and don't get a phone call back, and I'm the commissioner, I have some real problems with that. 3 months ago, I made a phone call, and as of yet, have never received a return call from our director. I support citizen participation. That was a part of the old Model Cities program, but we are elected to represent the people. And when I go to neighborhood meetings and I'm told not to talk about the Leavenworth Road improvement, you know, I deserve some amount of respect. And until I get that, then I will work with those neighborhood groups, and Marcia Rupp is one of them, who attend meetings, who knows what's going on. I will continue to support those groups that are doing things to help the community.
Same question.
Go ahead and repeat that.
Do you support the efforts and funding for livable neighborhoods and the 8 neighborhood business revitalization organizations, and will you continue to support them?
You betcha. And we wouldn't have the community that we have if it weren't for the livable neighborhood groups. They are the spine and the backbone of this community. And their funding should not be cut. If there's any way to avoid cutting funding to all of those groups, I am for it, because I am 100% behind them, and I want them to help me with the 8th District. And I want to help them as much as possible. This is where I live, and I want everybody else to want to live here too. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Philbrook. The question is for you first, please. The NVR funding is a small part of the general budget, but it leverages many, many more dollars for local initiatives. Over the past 3 years, NVR funding has been cut by 30%. As the budget gets tighter, how high on your priority list will restoring NVR funding be?
Well, NVR funding, as I stated, is very important to me, but I have to take into consideration funding for everything else that we have to take care of in this community, and we are on lean times. I believe that we can find funds other than our government funding. I believe there's other ways to get people to be involved in our community, to bring other organizations in, other groups, and get some funding from them to maybe make up some of that difference. I cannot commit to what's going to happen. I'm not the only one on the commission. I'm only one of many. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ellison?
If you read the paper this morning, money is going to get tighter. The funds, and I walked in the House after we reviewed the casino proposals at 2:30 a.m. My wife thought I was out doing something else, and I had just left the meeting. We approve gaming in White County with the sole purpose, not the sole purpose, but about the top one of 3 or 4 of lowering our property taxes. And I read the paper this morning where that money now is going to the general fund. I also read where there's funding being cut for education, which we have 4 school districts in a county of 154,000. We are really going to have to look at those programs that are going to be, I look at the junior college, new baseball field, all weather, and the technical services that they bought, took off the tax rolls, the old Ford building and Walmart. Now we're not going to have any money to staff those programs. So, to say fund a program that's centered around neighborhood activity is going to be a little difficult. And after 12 years, I'm looking for the new mill levy proposal. Of the 4 taxing entities and the unified government.
Okay, this question is for Butch Ellison. How would you support, or first of all, would you support Kansas City neighborhoods in starting community gardens and urban farms to bring healthier food to the neighborhood? And if you would support that, then how would you do it?
The first part of that, oh, no doubt about it. I was down in Juniper Gardens this summer and saw what has been done with about 5 acres where buildings were torn down. There were volunteers out planting a garden. 27th and Farrell, the same thing. There's a garden right there near the Quindaro Community Center. I drive the neighborhoods. There are vacant lots. We have plenty of vacant lots in the northeast area. There are gardens there. So, yes, I support them.
Same question, Dr. Philbrook?
Yeah, repeat it, will you please?
Would you support Kansas City neighborhoods in starting community gardens and urban farms to bring healthier food to the neighborhood? And if so, how would you support that?
Well, as we both keep saying, Funds are limited, and we all know that in Wyandotte County. So we need to reach out and be creative. Find more people to be involved, find more people that are interested in green communities, and invite them in to help us and help us create these areas that we need. Because we definitely need them on the inner city for the children to learn from and understand where our food comes from. We need these all over our community. It gives us pride. I would reach out, and I would be looking, and I would be open to avenues other than our tax base. Thank you.
Dr. Philbrook, take this question first, please. There is an interest in revising the current land bank policy. The first part of the question is, what do you see as the purpose of the land bank? The second part is, how would you like to see vacant properties put to use? And the last piece is, how will you keep the NVRs, businesses, and other stakeholders involved in potential land bank property lot decisions?
Repeat the last part of that question, please.
How will you keep the NVRs, businesses, and other stakeholders involved in potential land bank property lot decisions?
Okay, so how would I like to see them used? I'm gonna hit that first. I would like to see the land bank property used for increasing our number of small businesses, make them readily available through a very organized structure that lets small business come in and open up easily. Don't make them fight so hard to come into our community. I think we have a little work to do there. I also would involve the NVRs because they've had a lot of experience in trying to bring in new businesses and residential areas to our community. I don't see how we could work without the business leaders and the NVRs. I mean, that's all part of it. And I really don't know, I'm not acquainted with exactly how they want to change the regulations on land banks. Okay?
Thank you. Commissioner Ellison?
First of all, let me explain what the land bank is. Delinquent property tax owners, particularly in neighborhoods where there are 25, 30-foot, and 50-foot lots, those lots are taken. No taxes are being paid on those lots. Matter of fact, one experience just a couple weeks ago. A friend of mine wanted to buy a lot on 38th Street. He was able to purchase that lot for $400, put it back on the tax rolls. Now, he wanted for garden expansion. Most of these lots are located in neighborhoods, so it'd be pretty difficult to put a grocery store or a small business at 949 Cleveland. Those lots are up for bids continually, and there's a process and a procedure that's used to purchase those. What was the second part of that?
Let's see, how would you like to see the vacant properties put to use? And the last part is, how will you keep the NVRs, businesses, and other stakeholders involved in potential land bank property lot decisions?
That's difficult. The NVRs, and Ms. Jefferson, I think you purchased some lots through the land bank. Pretty difficult to do that. I would investigate to see how that may or may not be done, but it's pretty difficult.
This question is for Butch Ellison. What are your 3 priorities for your district?
One, the first priority has been accomplished. The store that was owned formerly by Balls at 55th and 11th Road, you know, we talk about food deserts. We had one. The store was closed for about 8 months. We did go down, and I talked to OJ, I talked to the Balls, David and that bunch, and it was obvious they were not going to rebuild or reopen. Then I went down on K32 and talked to OJ Shipman with Happy Foods West, and through packaging a deal with Lavert Murray and the Community Development Department, that's how that store reopened. As a matter of fact, they have recently expanded. So there is a store now in District 1. It was District 8. Secondly, to stabilize the community. That community at District 8, and I've been there 48 years, same address, needs to be stabilized. And that's going to happen through the Neighborhood Stabilization Program with loans to stabilize the community, keep crime down. So that's the second one. The third one is to work, you know, I've got Schlegel, Washington, right in my district. Those schools need to be worked with, West Middle. So those are some of the things I would do in the next 4 years.
Same question?
This is only for District 8?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I see District 8 becoming much more vital. And what I say by that is we have a lot of areas in District 8 that look really fantastic. District 8 is a blessed district when it comes to how we look and what we have to offer. We don't have a lot of the tough stuff that the Northeast area has. So we are way ahead of the game there. But we still need a lot of work on infrastructure. We need to work on the area going down Leavenworth Road. And I understand that we have a plan going forward through the state with some KDOT money as well as some other monies. I also want to see our property taxes come down. I know we just keep beating on that one, but when you try to get people to move to Wyandotte County, their first complaint is property taxes. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to bring in more money. And when I say more money, I mean more business. Business is a great tax base, and when people move in with new businesses, by gosh, they move closer to their business. Thanks.
Dr. Philbrook, this question is for you. Would you support an increase in the number and frequency of public transit options in the county? And if so, what's your notion for funding it?
It all comes down to the money, doesn't it? Well, first we have to show that we have the ridership and exactly where we're going to send those buses and the types of transit. We are also very fortunate because we have a new hub starting down at 47th and State, a new transit hub, and a new one in town. And they are improving the number of stops and the rapid transit as far as not the milk run, but the rapid transit between downtown and out at the Legends. So that's an improvement. But we have a long ways to go because as a whole community, and we have to look at it that way, as a whole community, the Northeast area does not have good transit. Okay? If you look at our transit lines, we are very limited. As a city, we are poor on community transit. Without a car, you're in trouble. So how would I fund it? Only God knows how I'm going to fund it. But I'm sure going to look for a way.
Thank you. Commissioner Ellison?
I'd like to dot that by saying for 12 years, I've looked for a way.
Well, good. Let's keep doing it.
And the services that we have definitely is improving. But when you have an over 10% unemployment rate, those are the only ones they count. I would estimate that about 20% of our Mexican Americans and blacks do not have jobs. You know, we talk about 4,000 jobs. Well, we got some jobs that pay $6.50 an hour, if you can get there. We all, you know, and I get so tired, and I'm just going to say this, of people claiming that they've created 4,000 jobs. All 10 of us created 4,000 jobs. We're policymakers. And the claims that people are making, individuals in the race, about what they individually have done is ridiculous. We all 10 have done it, and we will continue to do it. That commission operates with a majority. Property taxes are going to go up. There's no doubt when you look at what's happening at the state level. No doubt it's going to go up. Our students are going to pay more money at the community college per hour, per credit hour.
Last question.
Okay, to follow up on that a little bit for Commissioner Ellison, what can government do to create jobs? What additional incentives might be offered to encourage business development in Wyandotte County? Do some business incentives need to be eliminated?
One, we must package incentives. We have a number of tools that we can use. A good example is 55th and Leavenworth Authority Camp. We use a TDY. We used all kinds of 4 or 5 different tools to convince. And these are the kinds of things that we need to do to attract businesses in this county. One of us can't do it. We have a professional staff of economic development. We have an economic development department. We have a county administrator. We are not the experts at doing these things. These ideas are presented to the policymakers, and we vote. So, you know, none of us are going to be able to do it individually without the professional staff. And if anybody tells you they can, I won't say it, but it's not the truth.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now.
One of our candidates wasn't.
I'm sorry.
Were you able to answer that one yet? The same question?
Well, I don't know. Restate it, and then I'll think about it.
What can government do to create jobs? What additional incentive might be offered to encourage business development in Wyandotte County? And do some business incentives need to be eliminated?
I don't know about eliminating any business incentives. And, you know, when we start talking about small business, what do we mean small? Do we mean mom and pop organizations with, you know, 5 or 6 people? Do we need 10, 20? What are we talking small? Now, as being in Wyandotte County forever, I will tell you that there are some things that can happen to bring us in and to keep us, and that is to streamline the headache at City Hall. And this is not anti-UG employees. This is just the way things are set up, the way we have to do business day to day as a small business. If we can streamline that, if we can make it more friendly to people, they're more likely to want to come in. The other thing is that there are options for small business, and there is a pool of money to encourage small business to come in. And I think that we should make that more known, that there is some opportunity for small loans for businesses to improve their properties and to buy some of these other properties that are available and create new business.
Thank you, Dr. Philbrook. We are now at the place where we will hear their closing remarks. We will start with Dr. Philbrook. You have 1 minute. Then Mr. Ellison, you will have 1 minute to close. Dr. Philbrook.
Thank you. Well, it's time for new representation in the 8th District. It is time to be respectful of our UG employees, our community and neighborhood leaders, and our citizens. I'm Jane Winkler Philbrook, and I'm asking for your vote on Tuesday, April the 2nd, as your new 8th District Commissioner. Thank you.
Mr. Ellison.
Thank you. For the next 4 years, Northeast community, more affordable housing in Western Wyandotte County, maintain the property tax level, do something about the 53% that goes to other institutions outside of the UG. We only take about 47% of your tax dollars. Sales tax off star bonds, which will come in 2016. We can't count on it. You see what the governor did today. We need to reopen the Woodlands. I have 12 years of experience, and my opponent says that she has a fast learning curve. I've been there 12 years, and I'm still learning. This is not time to change. This is not the time. I would appreciate your vote, and stop. Thank you.
Let's give our candidates a round of applause. Thank you, Mr. Ellison and Dr.
Yeah.
Jane Philbrook.